And a welcome here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside the Great Lakes Honda City Studios. Proud to be here with you every Monday through Friday between 9 a.m. and 11 a.m. Eastern Time. As we were in Italy a couple weeks ago and had Italy Week last week, I got to learn that we broadcast in Italy midday, 3 to 5 p.m., and I appreciate everybody that has connected with the show overseas, and I want to thank all the countries we've had, including Sweden, who jumped up in such a massive way within the last few weeks here to out-download the United States. So thank you to Sweden, and thank you to everybody up and down the East Coast, the Midwest, the West Coast, and all around the globe. Here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, inside of these Great Lakes Honda City studios, we have the opportunity on Friday to bring you a trio of signature segments in the Annoying Moment of the Week. Lead, which is Learn, Evolve, Ad-Lib, and Deliver, presented by Chick-fil-A Cicero. Annoying Moment of the Week from Carvel DeWitt. And, of course, the Top Dog of the Week from K-9 Kamp Dog Daycare. We're bringing you the ingredients to success on a different day here, typically on Tuesday. It'll round out today's show, presented by Avicolli's. But we're going to start things off with Steve Addazio, who's joining me here today, the longtime college football head coach, and more importantly to me, selfishly, I can say the longtime friend of mine. And we have Steve here this morning to speak on his world as a college football analyst for ESPN and what he's seeing from what college football and collegiate athletics have become. But before we say anything about that, it's important for me to welcome a friend, like I said, back to the broadcast here, someone that I've respected for many, many years and somehow have now known for over a decade, which time flies when you're having fun. But I had the first opportunity to meet this gentleman when he was the Temple head coach, stood in front of the mic, and on the last, it was the last team in Rhode Island to speak, and I remember hearing him, seeing him, and feeling the passion in the room, and I thought to myself, I don't care who you are. If this man asked me to play football for him, I would. Steve Addazio, how are we doing?
Dan, thank you, and great to be with you. Great to have a chance to wake up on a Friday morning and talk about college football, which is such a big part of all of our lives.
Absolutely, and to go to that world of college football as an analyst, you've had the experience now for the past year to be around this college football world through a different angle. What have you taken away from that analysis job that you've had for ESPN, and what it's been like for you after being a head coach for so long?
Well, I'll tell you what, one of the great things is, being around ball, watching film during the week, meeting with coaches, doing the game, feeling the environment. And then when the game is over, it's awful nice not to worry about who won or lost. I'm in that plane, I'm heading home, and my day is going to be the same the next day. And when I was coaching, I can remember, you just die with it, and every second, every call, every play, and your Sundays are jubilant if you won, and if you didn't win, they're awful, and it's just that roller coaster ride. I don't miss that, and but you do and you don't. But the other thing is, in this job, I have a chance to look at it a little bit more from 20,000 feet, and enjoy that. And my goal now is to give back to the sport that was so good to me, and to help where I can, whether different head coaches have called me or whatever I can do, and I just hope that we can navigate the waters we're in right now, because I think they're pretty turbulent. I don't like where they are, and I'm hoping that we can pull through this thing and keep college football great.
Yeah, and like you said, the waters are turbulent and you don't like where they are. How would you describe what college football has become over these last few years?
Well, Dan, we've lost amateurism. You know what I mean? Like it's become about the money.
Yeah.
And I've lived it as an assistant coach, because as a head coach, I went back as an assistant, and in the heat of recruiting and everything else. So I just feel like what I saw was, there's always such pride. You go to your university, you wear your logo, and you're getting that degree, and fight for the blue and white and all that kind of stuff, and all the alumni who love their tremendous traditions of their university, which at so many places are so wonderful, and that's what I love about college football. And then all of a sudden, it's about the money. And all of a sudden, It's about what's in it for me. And then all of a sudden, it's, what's my platform? And really, that logo doesn't mean that much anymore.
Yeah.
And that pride, yet the alumni still feel it, but I'm not sure on the player end, it's the same way. And in a drop of a hat, they're just going to leave and move on. And I think, what I loved about college football was you had a bunch of young men that were coming to get an education.
Yeah.
And as coaches, we were all, we're teachers. And we're here in the development of young men on and off the field. And to watch them grow and to learn how to be a teammate and learn, all the different things that happen in football, how to overcome adversity.
Yeah.
Not leave when you have adversity, but overcome the adversity. The learning traits. Whether you're a doctor and you go to med school, you become an intern and you become a doctor, whatever that sequence is. There are sequences. And I love the sequence of college football where everybody was on somewhat of an equal footing. And, over the years, we tried to make it better in college football for young men in terms of, it used to be, all right, you got room, board, books, tuition, right? And that was worth a pretty penny at a lot of schools. Then it became, okay, now you get cost of living, you get this, you get that. And before you know it, you're going to a place like, wherever, Syracuse. And, that's worth whatever, how many dollars if you were paying for your child to go. I don't know what it is now. I'm guessing it's probably up in the 70s of thousands a year. And then on top of it, you get a $30-something thousand stipend. So, I mean, it's a job, it's worth, after taxes, you probably got to earn $150,000 to pay for that ticket. And it tried to get better and better and better. And then this explosion happened. And it turned it into some style of pro football. Not pro football because it has no guide rails or no rules or anything like that.
Yeah.
And I just wonder, sorry to ramble like this, but where are we? And I'm a guy that's in favor of helping kids. I'm a guy that's in favor of having some opportunity for guys to be able to make some money. I was never not for a kid being able to make money. Sign some autographs, do some whatever things they are. You work, you get paid for them. But this turned into not that. This turned into just pay to play. And I think it's shortchanged everybody, shortchanged the student athlete from the chance to grow up and mature and develop as a young man, to get an education, all those things that were meaningful. And then go out and play pro football if that's your deal. And it shortchanged the universities of what their mission statements were all about. I don't know how they look at themselves. Now, what's the mission statement? I don't even know what it is. So a lot of schools are formulating majors for guys just to survive. And, you used to be able to not transfer in if you didn't have so many credits. I don't know. Now they must have somehow got around all those rules.
Yeah.
Anyways, Dan, sorry, it's crazy.
No, and I mean, no apology needed. I mean, you're describing something. I mean, I've said it in when I wrote an article about it a few years ago. I keep coming back to the last thing that I wrote, which was, if you don't put a fence around the horses, you're chasing them every night to try to bring them back to the farm. And I don't understand. I mean, I guess in covering and watching the NCAA over the years, I could say I do understand, because what has made sense about the NCAA over the years is that nothing makes sense. But how someone could let this happen, how someone could drastically change collegiate athletics and make everything that would have been punishable by the NCAA free reign, and have no set of rules, no set of boundaries. The one thing that I look at, Steve, and probably one of the things that you can look at as a longtime head coach, and in this moment be happy that you don't have to deal with this, is that you're recruiting your players every year, right? And so you're bringing your guys in, you're trying to shore up your roster, and once you do, I mean, you're looking to the future. So, you might hear for going into the 2025 season be looking for one or two more guys, but you're already looking at 26, you're looking at 27, you're probably looking at 28. In today's college football, you have to recruit the 100 guys you got in the building, and you have to continue to recruit everybody on the outside. You don't know at the end of the season, am I going to lose 10 guys, 5 guys, 50 guys? Am I going to lose most of my roster in the case of a Washington State or a Marshall or something like that? So what I would love to get your thoughts on when we talk about having no fence around the horses, how can there be a portal open during the postseason How can there be a portal open while you're preparing for a bowl game or the college football playoff? And how can there be a portal open right after spring ball ends where I can essentially take my playbook, take all the nuances, everything this coach has taught me, steal it, and go from one school to another school and say, hey, coach, guess what? We're South Carolina. We play Florida week 7. Here's everything they're going to do because I just spent the last 3 months with them. How do we have a portal that is open during the postseason and open in between spring and fall ball?
Yeah, well, it doesn't work. I mean, Dave Cutcliffe, when I was in the ACC, used to say a lot in them head coaches meetings, unintended consequences. All these things, these grand ideas are not well thought out, and they have all these unintended consequences. The system set up the way it is really not functional. I've got friends, like Scott Loeffler was the head coach of Bowling Green. He would essentially exchange out 90% of his team each year. Like, what the heck? This used to be about development. It used to be about establishing a culture, building a culture within your program. That's gone. I mean, that's not real. And, that's what I'm saying. And guys are transferring all over the place. How are they getting transferable hours towards graduation? Does anybody even care anymore? I don't even know if anybody cares. I heard somewhere I heard recently, some university was going to be penalized because of their graduation rate. Why are we still trying to act like we care?
Yeah.
I mean, I just, I don't understand any part of that. But back to your question about yeah, I mean, they're going to have to put some governors on this, and like the transfer portal. To me, maybe a compromise would have been you have to at least put 2 years into a school you go to, at least 2 years, and then put some consequences. People say, well, coaches move around all they want to. Well, coaches have buyouts. They've got contracts. It could cost a coach $5 million to move. There's at least some guidelines, and the other thing is I don't even know why they're always comparing, an 18-year-old, to a grown man who's in a career. I mean, part of being an 18-year-old is to go through a process of development and to grow, or not. I guess, like, before everybody gets mad at me, like, or not, just go ahead and go to pro football. That's another master of you. I mean, just go to pro football. There's some like rule in college football. Oh, you have to exhaust X amount of eligibility before you're eligible to go to pro. What? I mean, just go to pro football. What happened? So this transfer portal thing's gonna have to, I think they're trying to get their arms around that, although they've been trying to tweak it and adjust it every year now since it really came on the scene. And the NIL, I can't even. It's so absurd. People are paying exorbitant amount of money for guys that were backups at other schools because they have a glaring need. Which goes back to why can't you manage your roster? But you can't manage your roster because the rules now are it's just every day transfer here, transfer there, transfer here, transfer there. So I'm going back to what I said earlier. The educational aspect of this, let's not masquerade with that anymore. We're the presidents here. We're the presidents of the university.
Yeah.
Where's the academic integrity here? Why do we want to be a part of this? Again, go back to some sensible, and some people will say, well, they had a chance in the NCAA and they lost that window to create it. And now, everybody's afraid of these lawsuits and everything's lawsuits. In my mind, what I say to myself is, if everybody just said, we're not paying this, then that market would dry up, but everybody would still play college football.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just like when I got into coaching. There was no money. You coach because that's what you want to do. That was your passion. That was your love. You were a teacher. That's what you want. Now the business is changing. Why? Because there's a lot of guys in there because they see it as an opportunity to make a lot of money coaching, which I think that's gone off the rails. Completely off the rails. To think about what's being paid to coach football, and a guy gets a hot quarterback in a program. Next thing you know, they think he's a genius. The next thing you know, they're making $10 million a year. I mean, like, really? I mean, a lot of these things have got to somehow it's got to get adjusted. I tell you what doesn't feel to me. It doesn't feel like this is sustainable. Now, maybe they said that 100 years ago. I don't know, but this doesn't feel sustainable because now you're talking. You wanted to talk a little bit about the money now that each school is able to pay. with the new legislation that I guess is going through, partially through, going to happen. I don't know. But that's a sham because they're talking about now allocating the ability for each school to have $20 million to give their athletes. Okay, each school, each university.
Yeah.
Now, how they divvy that up is up to them. They can give $10 million to football. They can give $19 million to football. They can give. Everybody's going to have a different formula there. Some aren't going to pay the full $20 million towards their whole sports program. But here's the joke of that. So, and I can tell you this. I know this for a fact. So, like, let's say School A, decides they're going to pay the $20 million. They're going to allocate $15 million towards football. Well, then they're going to have these outside collectives that are still there.
Yeah.
They're just going to go on top of the $15 million. So they're going to have $15 million. And then if another school is using, $18 million, then they're going to supplement 3 or whatever it takes to be one better. Because in this whole process, it was like back in the day. A lot of schools in the SEC were, illegally recruiting players and finding ways to funnel things to players to get them to choose their school. And if the ante was X, then they were going to go X plus 1. So all we did was raise up the bottom. So now we're going to say, okay, now the starting point's $15 million. And if we really want a guy, well, we're going to pay 20. We're going to pay 23. Then we're going to pay 25. Then we're going to pay 30. And for what? And when does this change? How does this end?
Yeah.
People talk about being a superpower. They're going to be a superpower league. And they're going to be a commissioner of the league. So, is that a pro football league? Why are we masquerading in college? Why don't they just take this UFL and make it a semi-pro league and let these kids funnel right in there so they don't have to go to college? That's not even, why are we mixing college? These things go through my head.
No, it makes sense because you're essentially, you're talking about things. We talk, you and I, and we have conversations on and off the air. We talk in reality. We talk in factual. We talk in what is actually happening, where other people are talking. And it was funny because I had somebody, I don't know if you've ever gone through this, Steve, but I had never gone through this over 20 years of being a broadcaster, and I went through it recently. I had someone sit down with me before an interview, and they're in a leadership position at an institution. And they said, I'm not going to tell you how to do your job. And you know that when somebody prefaces with that, they're about to tell you how to do your job. So, like when someone says not to be offensive, but. So, we're sitting down in their office. He said, I'm not going to tell you how to do your job. I'm not going to tell you how to interview me. You're the expert, you're the professional. But this is a question you're going to ask me. So, you have to ask me this question. I'm going to give you this answer. Once I give you this answer, you're going to move off of it and never ask me about it again. But do your job the way you want to do it. And I remember sitting in the room and thinking to myself, I've been raised by a lawyer, and I've been raised by 2 really amazing people. I cannot, in good conscience, have someone tell me, script me, what I'm going to do, how I'm going to do it, how I'm going to approach it, what the answer is going to be already, and then how I'm going to move off of it. And if I don't understand that answer, I'm not going to keep going as if I do, because if I don't understand it, I don't expect my listeners and my viewers to understand it, and I'm doing a disservice to them. So when we recorded this, and it was a pre-recorded conversation, when we recorded it, I don't edit that. We record all the way through. And when I asked the question and I got the answer, I continued to ask what that answer meant because the words were vague. The words made no sense. And to your point of collegiate athletics, you said, where are the presidents on this? Why are we masquerading as this? That was how I felt in that moment. I said, this is what you want me to say this is. This is not what this is. So you can say whatever you want to say, but when I turn this camera on, I am going to ask this question, and I'm going to break it down until I feel like my listeners and my viewers have an adequate answer to move forward, because what I think you're doing is I think you're masquerading. And so I don't know if you've ever experienced that or had that in your life, but I am not the type of person to distort reality in order to save face for an institution.
Yeah, I have, and I agree. And I just think we're in such a state of affairs that we need to speak truth and have real conversation about what's real, and I don't know. where is this thing all headed?
Right.
And how do we make it better? How do we preserve it? Eventually, everything has an end. I mean, if you abuse something enough, it's going to have an end. So, to me, a couple things have to either happen. You're either going to go down a path where you're going to establish, essentially, we have a model for what they're trying to do right now. We have a model for whether you like it or not. There is a model. It's called pro football. I don't particularly like college football going into that model, but if you're going to do it, then there's a model. Right now, it's the Wild Wild West. Okay, or pull this thing back, but people say, "Well, the genie's out of the bottle." Maybe I don't know. Is it? I mean, but it as a guy that's been in this thing right now, in real time. The last few years, I watched it in front of my very eyes. It started with the ability for young men to be able to maybe sign some autographs and get paid, or do an ad for a TV, use their name, their image, and their likeness. And started out, sounded like, okay, that's reasonable. Yeah. And then, of course, no one did any work. There was no real work performed. And then it just morphed before you could blink twice into, a starting offensive lineman gets $500,000 or something. And I'm like, what happened? And then you hear about all this. I can remember as a head coach, well, we can't do this. There's no money in the budget. We can't do this. No, we can't do that. I mean, we don't have the money for that. Now all of a sudden there's $20 million. I mean, and I don't know. And I think, so I think at a minimum, you're going to become the haves and the have-nots. That's going to happen.
Yeah.
And I think the so-called haves are those who are going to put this distorted amount of money into college football. And they're going to move into some other league level. And I think some other schools are going to fall back and maybe go back to what was type of thing. Because people say, well, this is what I said. Oh, you're never going back. Well, what's going on in the Ivy League? What's going on in the small Ivies and SCAC? What's going on in these conferences? They're playing like they used to play. There's not NIL. I mean, there may be, but no one's putting any money in it. So don't say it can't. So it's going to divide, I guess. And then, like I said, the sad part of that is, okay, so is this college pro?
Yeah.
Pro. It's pro. It's pro being funded by donors. Again, why don't we just have pro football? Why don't we have semi-pro and pro? You go college, you're an amateur. Then you go semi-pro, and then you go pro. I don't know.
Well, you talk about the haves and the have-nots, and the haves continue to be the haves, and the have-nots continue to be the have-nots. If you were to be a head coach again, what side of the spectrum would you want to be on? Would you want to be the school that's spending $20-30 million in the thick of all of this and putting money on top of money? Or would you rather be the school that believes that student athletes should get something, but is still trying to have the purity of the sport? If you went back into coaching right now and you're trying to win a championship, you're trying to make it to the college football playoff, where would you want to be? Would you want to be in the ever-growing world of we're just going to grow money on trees and it's going to exist forever and we'll find a way to make this money? Or do you want to go to a place that says, hey, we still have to protect this?
Well, I got a little pollen in my throat, so pardon me for using a lozenge here. But
there you
go. I would say to you, I would absolutely want to be where college matters, the education matters. I'm into, what I'm into. I'm into building young men. I'm into building a program. I'm into culture. I'm into learning how to grow up as a man and learning all those principles that what football was founded on, teaching the lessons of life. I'm way into that. So at this stage of my life, I'd rather be in that second thing that you talked about, not the, wouldn't want to be in that where it's a financial money race and you're in and out of places in a year and say, well, yeah, but that's going to be the pinnacle of college football. That's great. But for me personally now, I'd much rather be in a good, strong university that is trying to build all the right things in terms of education and everything else, you can still be competitive.
Yeah.
And I'd rather be there. You're asking, I'm telling you. I still find that cool, and why I got into coaching. That's why I did not go to the NFL. I stayed in college football. Right? Now, if it was 10 years ago and I was still actively coaching right now, and this was what college football is, then I probably would have at that point shifted gears and maybe just gone to the NFL. That's the case. And just say, okay, I'm just going to go to the NFL. I'm going to walk away from the development side of young men and all that. But that's really unfair what I'm saying to some degrees, because I don't want to paint like in the NFL they don't care anymore about building team and culture, because good programs still do. I think what's happening in college is it's just so off the rails that there's no guidelines at all. And so look how we're talking right now. This whole thing bothers me.
Yeah.
How can we get to a state where we can talk about the fact that there's no guidelines? There's really, and then here's the other thing. Urban talked a little bit last week about, guys, college head coaches that abuse the rules. And there still are some rules, although it's really hard to figure out what are the rules.
Yeah.
What rules are we deciding to enforce, and what rules are we not? Guys are poaching guys right now. That's still a violation. And until the NCAA steps up and says, hey, these are the rules. You break the rules, you're out of coaching. I mean, I always believed in that. Like, I would really follow the rules. And it was really important to me and my staff. I stayed on top of everything. And I've seen where rules were not followed at places and leagues. And that bothers me immensely. Because are you kidding me? Like, you're supposed to stand there and represent a university and a college, and you're going to cheat? You're going to cheat? Like, what does that mean? What does that stand for? So I'm not into all that. And people look like they're turning a blind eye to that. People are being convicted, sort of, if you will, or whatever, of cheating. And it doesn't seem like anybody cares. And it's all selective. So there's been a breakdown in enforcement. We changed rules in college football to accommodate the fact that they got worn out trying to enforce the rules. You understand that, Dan? That's what happened, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the NCAA got worn out trying to enforce the rules, whether it was worn out by chasing it down, whether it was worn out by people challenging the rules as is not constitutional or not, legal.
Yeah.
And it just, I'm like, can we just be honest with ourselves? I mean, can't we just have integrity? Can't we just follow the rules? No, because as football started getting more popular and growing, everybody wanted to find their edge at any cost. That's equally disheartening. How some guys were held accountable for the rules and some guys were not. And what people deemed as important stuff, or what people deemed they could look another way on. It's crazy.
Yeah. And a final note in closing, Nick Saban got out, and Dabo Swinney still trying to recruit true freshmen, still trying to embrace what the model used to be. When we look at that, at the time over these last few years, they were at the pinnacle. They were at the top of the mountain, those two coaches. To not see Nick Saban coaching and to see Dabo constantly scrutinized. You spent so much time in the ACC. You were in rooms with Dabo. The fact that he's wanted to stay true to this model, and we're not seeing that. And then Nick said, you know what? I'll find another way to affect college football. What can you say to that? The fact that the coaches that were typically playing for a national championship, one of them's not coaching anymore, and the other one has been constantly beaten down in the media for what he's trying to do to preserve what used to be.
Yeah, well, I respect Dabo for what he's trying to do. And if I was, still in the ACC, I'd be doing the same thing as he's trying to do. And I would just, Dabo's shtick. Everybody's got a shtick, right? Dabo's shtick to me has always been he's done a phenomenal job on building the culture of his program. He had a great culture at Clemson, a team culture that, you know, it wasn't just about you. It was, you know, about your teammate. It was about something bigger. And I think that served him very, very well. Now, he's going to have to adapt because he's at one of the pinnacle places. He's going to have to adapt to what's going on. It doesn't mean he has to sell his soul to it, but he's got to adapt a little bit to it. And I think he is, but I respect what he's doing. And, you know, this is what a lot of guys that have been in it for a while are feeling right now, that the landscape has changed. Do I really, you know, believe in this? Now, you know, guys, you know, Nick Saban got out and he has his reasons for getting out, and, you know, but I can imagine some, you know, guys that are in their 40s, 30s, 40s, early 50s, you know, they're making great money. They're, you know, they're at these prestigious deals and they're trying to find a way to balance what they believe in and not compromising who they are, but yet still keeping their career going and earning a living and all that kind of stuff. And I can imagine that can be challenging. You get a little bit older, you've made enough money in your life, and that doesn't drive you. And then you're sitting there saying, I don't know if this really works for me. I don't know that, you know, this is really what I believe in. And then other guys, I'm sure everybody's got an angle, you know, get out and they say, well, this wasn't my style, so I'm not going to be able to win at the same level. I'm going to get out now. I mean, there's a whole host of reasons why people, you know, get out. But I just hope that guys, all of us that have been in this thing, I think should be trying to help find solutions or trying to help, you know, keep this thing going in a positive direction. But like, here's my thing, Dan. Who are the decision makers? Who are getting put in roles to help make these decisions? That always amazed me when I was in the ACC or wherever I was. You'd be shocked at how these things get legislated and ideas where they pop from and how they're based off of. And we'd come up with things in the ACC as head coach we thought were important to change, to bring up, whatever. And like all of a sudden you'd come back and something totally different was brought forward and then got passed and legislated. And you're like, what the heck is that? So I just think that, you know, they got to put people in place to help, you know, come up with solutions and directions. And I always ask myself, who are those people? Who are they? It's a lot like college football. You know, like who makes decisions on who gets hired, who doesn't get hired? Who are the people and what's their background? You'd be shocked. Some people just really probably aren't really that qualified to make someone. Can you really evaluate? Is that a good program or is that not a good program? Well, what are you basing off of? Well, the wins and losses. Okay, sure. But sometimes those win and losses become small. Now, how are you basing it? Is it a good program? Who is making that decision? Is it alumni? Is it the athletic director? Is it the president? Is it a collection of all the above? Who in there has a knowledge to be able to say, yeah, but wait a minute, that's a good program. Here's what's going on. Here's what's right. Or here's what's wrong.
Yeah.
You know, so same thing with facilitating where we head in college football. Who are going to be those people? I hope they're going to be people that have been in the trenches with it and understand it. You know, so it's a crazy time. Here's the good news: college football is still at an all-time high in terms of popularity.
Yeah,
and that's a good thing. And hopefully, college football doesn't lose that and can keep the sport great and get it going in a great direction, facilitate it. But I still think I don't want it to get away from the foundation of being a part of the university, the development of young men, and I think that should be the mission.
Yeah, all great points this morning, and you and I align on these things, and it makes perfect sense to me. So you hope that people are going to make good decisions, and when you talk about decision makers, it would be nice if people that actually worked in college football as coaches, as analysts, as administrators that were specifically working on football, that the decision makers in college football should, in a crazy way, I know this might sound strange to some people, be people that went through the trenches, like you said, of college football. if you're making a decision about it, you should understand what you're making a decision about. You don't have somebody come in that works at a hot dog stand to perform neurosurgery. So that is something that we have to break down too. But like you said, college football is alive. It's well. The kids are talented. The coaches are talented. And we're still seeing the sport on the field be something we enjoy watching. Now it's just about what's happening off the field to make sure that the on the field stays somewhat pure and somewhat right. Steve Addazio, as always, college football analyst for ESPN and a great friend. Steve, I hope you know that the conversations we have off the air, especially those heartfelt ones, they ring true. And I'll be driving and I'll just remember something that you said to me. You're a stand-up guy. You're a good person. You've always been there. So beyond everything, I know that I have a friend behind the coach and that the man that I met over a decade ago has stayed true, and not every man or woman in this world can say that. So I respect it and I appreciate it.
Well, thank you, Dan. You're a friend, and I love spending time with you and talking, whether it be about football or any other topic. And love what you're bringing to college football. So all the best, and can't wait for the fall.
Sounds good. Be safe. I know you're going to see family, so be safe out there, and we'll talk soon.
Okay, Dan. All the best. Take care.
All right, take care, Steve.
Bye-bye.
See you. That coming from Steve Addazio, and a God bless to him and his loved ones as well. And just appreciate it. He's echoing a lot of things for those of you that watch and listen to Wake Up Call on the Norm. That a lot of things that he just said is what you hear me say. And well, we start off these conversations, you don't know where someone's going to necessarily go, and you hear that echoing. And like I've talked about this before. When you're out there in this world and you're trying to do the right thing, and you're trying to do the right thing, and you're trying to do the right thing, and sometimes you feel like, am I crazy? Like the whole world seems to be different. And then you have a conversation with someone who you respect, like a Steve Addazio in my case, and you're echoing each other, and you're like, yeah, no, like there's other people out there that can see how ridiculous this is. They can see that, yes, a student athlete should make something, but who is handling all of this? And just because the House settlement is going to free up $22 million per school, how are the schools going to free up that money? When the NCAA says you have to do this, right? When the settlement says you have to do this, is Syracuse, you don't just tell a school you need $22 million and the NCAA is not going to provide it for them, So what if a school is barely getting by? See, people don't understand. There's schools that are reclassifying down. They're reclassifying out of Division I. Some of them are reclassifying out of Division I to Division III, where there's no scholarships. They're not even going from D1 to D2. They're going from D1 to D3, which means that their investment in athletics is going to drastically change. It is going to drastically drop. There's a school like St. Francis of Pennsylvania who's D1, and by 2026 is going to be D3, and they just made the NCAA tournament for men's basketball. And that gives you a little bit of money. So they've just been on the national stage, and now they're going to go to D3, and they're going to drop out of the opportunity, God bless me, to play in the Division I men's basketball tournament. My allergies have been bugging me all this week, so I appreciate you navigating this with me. Apologize for the sneeze, and if the voice sounds a little bit different. There is a place right now in collegiate athletics and college football. We talk about college football driving the bus. It is. But sometimes it drives the bus in the sense of that's where all the money goes. And other times it's driving the bus where it's on fire right now. And my concern is, will a fan continue to love their team when their team's players change every year? Is a fan going to, think about it. When you bought a jersey in the past, there was no name on the back of the jersey because the school couldn't do that. The school could make money off that player, but the school couldn't give the player any money. So they were using their likeness, but not. But they were. Like, you could buy a 44 jersey and support Floyd Little, right? You could buy a 44 jersey at Syracuse and it's for Floyd Little, but you couldn't put Little on the back. So they were using his image and they were using his likeness, and you knew who it was, but they were getting around it by not putting the name on the back of the jersey, and he couldn't make any money. So I do believe that a player should make something, because schools have been making something off of their student athletes forever, and the NCAA is making things off of these athletes forever. So there has to be a model that's set up in this place. But again, think about this. A House sentiment saying you have to free up this money, that doesn't mean the school has the money. There are schools, going back to the point of St. Francis reclassifying down, and in other schools, there are schools that have canceled certain programs. During COVID, they've gotten rid of some of their Olympic sports. Gotten rid of this soccer team, or gotten rid of that, or willing to get rid of volleyball, or really going to get rid of soccer or field hockey. I think soccer and field hockey were the ones that I saw some of the schools were getting rid of. But there's schools that are getting rid of athletics altogether. St. Francis Brooklyn got rid of their athletic program. To any school at any level, in a lot of ways, that's where you're generating money consistently. So there's schools that have gotten rid of their entire athletic department. Do you know how many jobs that is? You got to think about all the so they look at it and say, well, we're freeing up money, right? We're not paying these administrators. We can get rid of these buildings. We can repurpose these buildings. We don't have to upkeep our facilities for sports. We don't have to worry about scholarships for student athletes. We don't have to worry about paying coaches, head coaches, and assistant coaches. So we're going to free up all this money. But you're also not going to generate any of the money that comes from athletics. This is what people don't understand. And unfortunately, I've been through this with a school that I love dearly, is they looked at where can we cut money, but they didn't look at the other side of it. Yeah, you can cut this cost out, but this cost brings you what you otherwise do not have, which can generate money. It's like, yeah, okay, people don't want to have to pay for certain things, right? I can cut out a cost of a car payment, but then I have no way to get anywhere easily. I got to walk to a bus stop. And where does that bus go? It's not going to go everywhere I want it to go. My bus is not going to bring me from me to Isaac's house. It's not going to bring me from me to GG Cards and Brakes. It's going to bring me to a location, and I'm going to have to walk. So you have to think about these things. We can all cut out costs from our lives, but at what detriment to our life? That's what we don't think about sometimes. And that's what I think some of these universities and these colleges are not thinking about. Yes, you can cut down what you spend. So you can cut this athletic program, and you can cut this athletic department, and you can reclassify down. But that comes with less money, maybe less donors, less excitement, less butts in the seats. That's all money. Less butts in the seats, less merchandise. Less butts in the seats, less hot dogs sold. Less beer sold, less sodas sold. Cutting cost is something that everyone everywhere would like to do. Dan, I got $2,000 in bills every month. I'd like to make it $1,000. Okay. So you want to cut down your costs. You want to cut it in half. But you have to think about what you're willing to get rid of, because sometimes a stream that is a cost stream, that is an expense stream, is also a revenue stream. There's a big difference between cutting a cost stream, cutting an expense, and cutting an expense that is also a revenue generator. And I look to some of the schools that I've been around that cut expenses, which also cut their only access to the community, because they don't do enough in this area or that area. So, where is this money coming from? Right? Where is the money coming from? Syracuse, when they were making renovations to the dome, was asking the community for help. We don't have any money, which is BS, by the way. But because it's nice when rich people tell you that they're poor, and I'm meaning that facetiously, very much so. What do they say? Some rich people stay rich because they're cheap. So we have seen schools say, we don't have this. I don't know where Syracuse is going to find this $20 million. I mean, this is my hometown. And in all the years I've been around Syracuse University, I have not seen them show me in any way, shape, or form that they're willing to spend the money. They want the money to come in. They want you to spend it. But I've not seen them say, we're going to spend it. We're going to do this. We're going to do X, Y, and Z. And then people say, well, Dan, what about the new performance facility? That's donors. That's not Syracuse University going, hey, we're going to put all these millions of dollars in and don't worry about it. We're going to do it. So where are they going to find the money? Where is Syracuse going to find $20 million? Right? I don't think Alabama's going to have a struggle to find 20. I don't think that Clemson is going to struggle to find 20. I don't think Miami's going to struggle to find 20. I don't think Florida State's going to struggle to find 20. I don't think Florida's going to struggle to find 20. I don't think LSU's going to struggle to find 20. I don't think Notre Dame or Penn State or Ohio State's going to struggle to find 20. But what about Syracuse? What about Duke? What about Boston College? What about Pittsburgh? Right? When we're thinking about these schools, what about that? What about UConn? I'm thinking about a lot of these schools that I grew up with. What about Maryland? What about Rutgers? There's the ones that we don't worry about. Those are the ones that were the haves already, that had the unfair access in the polls. The ones that maybe were doing backdoor deals when it was illegal. Were tampering when it was illegal. And allegedly it's still illegal, but I'm not seeing anybody get in trouble for it. The haves still have. And the haves that have had, most of them have the money. But what about these other places? The House settlement is all well and good, and it's great to hear for student athletes, but the school still has to generate that money or take it from somewhere else or stop claiming poverty. Either they're taking the money from the vault that they refused to open for the last 70 years, or they're going to ask their donors for more money. How are they going to get this money? When we see universities and colleges closing and reclassifying down, this is and during a pandemic and through the pandemic and being here now. We still have remnants of COVID today. So after all these years that we've dealt with all of this, schools are not in a good footing beyond the House settlement, before the House settlement, to just be making money. I feel like schools are looking to cut costs. Schools are looking to find ways to save and to stay afloat. I mean, I was hearing conversations over these last couple of years of schools that were hoping to just stay open. And now they have to find $20 million. You know, we all talk about these ideas, but you have to understand that an idea that's implemented is going to come with its own consequences, its issues, its potential fallout. There's a lot of things that go with this. You know, everybody can talk about stuff, but how many people are going to do it? You know, I'm sure most people would want to work for themselves and own their own business, but how many of us do? What are we, 1%, 0.8%, 0.1%? How many people actually own a business to the population of this world? Most people would love to, but how many people are going to put the work in? Because there can be a lot of things that can happen. When I started my business, I didn't have any money. I wasn't a trust fund baby. I didn't have some endowment somewhere. I didn't have a bunch of checks that were given to me to open at a later date. I had money that I had saved. I had money from when I was a kid that was saved for me. And we're not even talking, I mean, and I'm happy that I had it, but we're not talking about tens of thousands of dollars. We're not talking about $1 million. It's not like, okay, I'm going to go start a business and I have access to all of this stuff. It's, I'm going to start a business and I got to spend $400 on this equipment because I got to make sure I got that $400. And thankfully, I'm living in this place where the rent is low so that I can afford that. And thankfully, I'm living with my girlfriend at the time, so we're sharing bills so I can afford that. I didn't have buku bucks. And I feel like as we're talking about all these ideas and all these things that are going on in collegiate athletics, one of the biggest questions that I'm asking that I'm not hearing people ask on the norm is, where are the schools going to find this money? and the reality that not every school has to. Right? When I interviewed Phil Brown, the leader of Lemoyne College Athletics, he let me know something I didn't know. Not every school has to buy in. Not every conference has to buy in. So this House settlement does not tie down every Division I institution that they have to pay this $22 million every single year. And then I talked to Noreen Morris, the Northeast Conference Commissioner that oversees Lemoyne and a bunch of schools, and she said, as a conference, we can opt in or opt out. So if we don't opt in, then we don't have these caps on our rosters. If we don't opt in, we don't have to find the $20 million. See, I thought once the settlement came through that these schools were stuck to it, but it's not. Allegedly, the autonomous 4 conferences, and if they want to involve the PAC again, but the ACC, the SEC, the Big 12, and the Big 10, I think it was something that I read that one of the shticks of this House settlement is that if it is certified and it's going through, and we're following this, that one of the things of the House settlement was that in order to settle this case, the autonomy group had to agree that they're going to do it. So in order for the House settlement to happen, the ACC, the SEC, the Big 12, and the Big 10 have to agree to the roster caps. They have to agree to the $20 or $22 million that they're going to have to free up every single year. So that was one of the pieces of the settlement. You know, people forget, you say the word settlement, House settlement, and you have to understand what that means. A settlement, when you settle in court, it means that usually both sides give something up. So they could turn around and say, hey, we'll settle this case right now. But we need the 4 autonomy conferences to agree that they're going to do this. Someone has to sustain this. Because if every other conference opts out, we need to make sure that somebody does it. So here's our settlement. We'll do it. We'll abide by X, Y, and Z. But the ACC, the SEC, the Big 10, and the Big 12, you have to agree to this. So now they're stuck. Syracuse is in the ACC. They're stuck. They're going to have to figure it out. Vanderbilt, going to have to figure it out in the SEC. Rutgers, going to have to figure it out. Virginia, going to have to figure it out. Kansas State, going to have to figure it out. There's so many layers to this that I could literally just dedicate Wake Up Call to being a show about the current state and future of collegiate athletics, and I would have information for you every single day and more guests than I probably can count. And I'm happy Steve Addazio continued the conversation with us today, and I appreciate the fact that he's still real. That he didn't let this world change him. What do they say? You know, work to change the world, but don't let the world change you. Never let the world change your smile. Give your smile to the world, never let the world take it. So I appreciate Steve. That if he was coaching again, he would want to be on the side of where it's still real and pure and genuine. And it still matters to be a student. It still matters to stay with a team. It matters to be accountable, to be responsible. It matters to grow. There's still a process. I respect that. And I would be the same way. We'll take a step aside for a fast break here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside the Great Lakes Honda City Studios. When we spin back around, it's time for the annoying moment of the week, presented by Carvel DeWitt.
In these unique times, there are those in our community that give us a sense of normalcy and positivity. Pizza Man on 50 Oswego Street in Baldwinsville has been here for you for over 35 years and is here now. Call 315-638-1234 or order online at pizzamanbville.com to bring those familiar tastes into your home. And remember to come see our monthly on-site broadcasts centered around the community and our Baldwinsville Bees. Pizza Man in Baldwinsville. Any way you slice it, they're always here for you. Looking for your next ride? Look no further than Great Lakes Honda City, located on 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Serving our community for decades, their new and pre-owned vast array of vehicles are available to you Monday through Saturday on site. To search from home, shop at GreatLakesHondaCity.com. Call 315-365-5576 to set up an appointment. That's 315-365-5576 for Great Lakes Honda City, 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Great cars, great people, Great Lakes.
All right, you need to come out here and get yourself the Brooklyn Pickle. I was talking about this with one of my buddies. I was like, yo, there's no better sandwich in the state of New York than the Brooklyn Pickle. And now that I found out that they're going down to North Carolina, we are taking over your taste buds everywhere you are, wherever you're going to be. You need to get yourself out to the Brooklyn Pickle. Pinehurst, you just realized that you found yourself the best sandwich shop that you're ever going to have. This is a glorious moment. It's a blessing to your community. You're welcome. Brooklyn in the house, baby. Go over to the Brooklyn Pickle. You already know what it is.
You heard the man. Head to Brooklyn Pickle Pinehurst on 1788 Old Morgantown Road in Southern Pines, North Carolina.
Hi, this is Amy from Mother's Cupboard, home of the whole frittata. We are open daily 6 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. For takeout orders, call 315-432-0942 and tune in to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora for our monthly food challenge and try our Wake Up Call signature menu item available 7 days a week. Here at Mother's Cupboard, we are Central New York, and it's our honor to serve you.
Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory remind us that every day is worth celebrating at 201 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York. Open Monday through Saturday in-store and always online at maandpaspopcorn.com. Serving our Central New York community and beyond, order anywhere, anytime at maandpaspopcorn.com. Stop in to get a tin at Ma and Pa's on 201 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York to get your half-price refills for the rest of your life. Come to Ma and Pa's for your holiday gift giving for family, friends, employees, and clients. And remember, for fundraising and events, to call 315-450-6272. That's 315-450-6272. Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory. How corny are you?
This is Jimmer Sikowski, owner-operator of Chick-fil-A Cicero, 7916 Brewerton Road in Cicero, right in front of the Home Depot. I had a deep feeling that God wanted me to do something bigger with my life and to help people, help others. I kept putting Chick-fil-A in my life, and I realized as I was going through the franchise selection process that positively impacting the lives of others was really core to what we do here at Chick-fil-A. First of all, it starts with the food. The food is brought in fresh daily, and we bring in local produce. We prepare to order in the kitchen. We hand butter chicken. We hand spin our milkshakes. It's great food. It doesn't taste like fast food. I think the second thing is the way people feel when they come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. It's different. We try to treat people with intentional kindness here, which is very different and deeper than good customer service. And so I think it feels remarkable for most people to come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. And then lastly, the impact that we try to have in the community is very different. It's a big part of the expectation of every operator of a Chick-fil-A restaurant is that they're actively engaged in their community, they're a leader in the community, and they're making a difference. When they realize that what we're striving to do is to shine a little light in their life, that's a very, very different experience than you will have in any other quick service restaurant. And it's that remarkable experience that I think people will emotionally connect with.
Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life. Appreciate you being here with us every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time inside the Great Lakes Honda City studios. You can head off to Great Lakes Honda City today and Monday through Saturday weekly by going to 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York for sales and service. You can get a sneak peek of their new and used vehicle inventory by going to GreatLakesHondaCity.com. Let them know that DT sent you, and I appreciate y'all as always. Now, we changed up this Friday a little bit here because we typically start off with our trio of signature segments. But Steve Addazio traveling today. I want to make sure we got him on and had this conversation, and I'm very grateful and blessed to have had it and appreciate Steve as always. So travel safe, my friend. Steve Addazio here starting off the broadcast, which moved everything to hour number 2 or around hour number 2. So we're going to jump in to the annoying moment of the week, proudly presented by Carvel DeWitt, 4322 East Genesee Street in DeWitt, New York.
Dan Tortora proudly brings you
Is that for real? Are you kidding me?
the annoying moment of the week.
I really honestly, I don't know how to respond to this.
Presented by Carvel DeWitt, 4322 East Genesee Street. It's what happy tastes like.
Do you have to be that crazy? I guess so.
The annoying moment of the week, proudly presented by Carvel DeWitt, 4322 East Genesee Street in DeWitt, New York. It is what happy tastes like, and my annoying moment of the week for this week has got to be something that's been on my mind here, and I've talked about it in conversations with friends. There's this thing about society now, and I'll talk about this more in Two Mics, No Filter, because that's our relationship show here on Dan Tortora, inside of Dan Tortora Broadcast Media's umbrella. So make sure that you listen to that. And that we'll have an all-new episode coming up for you here within the next few days with Andrea Smith and myself. But to give you a little prelude to it, this whole societal, this is what dating is, this is what it has to be, these are the parameters of dating, it's too much. I don't know if men and women have just been reading too many books. I don't know if it's, and I'm not saying you can't read books, I'm not saying that, but some things in life you just have to live. You just have to live it. You're not going to find, listen, I'm old enough to know that you're not going to find in a book how to date somebody. You're not going to find in a book how to do it. Now you might think that well, Dan, this worked and that worked. Okay, that's all well and good. But to me, there's certain things in life that can't be told through a book, right? We call it street smarts, feelings, that sixth sense that a book can't simply teach you. Well, one of the stupidest things I've ever seen in my life is the love language BS stuff that's out there. And like I said, we'll get into it more in Two Mics, No Filter. But choose your love language. Are you an acts of service love language person? Are you a affectionate person? Are you someone who enjoys time? You know, these different love language garbage, in my opinion. What is your love language? How am I supposed to love you? Tell me your love language so that I can know what to do. How about you just be yourself? How about you just be yourself and see if you fit with somebody? How about that? You know, these people want to put you in a box. I've never been a person in a box. Acts of service, quality time, words of affirmation, physical touch, or receiving gifts. That's what's being called the 5 love languages. I was asked recently what my love language was, and I was like, well, all of them. I appreciate quality time. I like when someone reaffirms something in words. I like physical touch. When you receive a gift from somebody, it doesn't have to be anything crazy, but something that shows someone that shows you that they thought of you, that they were going about their day and they walked into a store and they saw this thing and they're like, oh my gosh, Dan would love that. And it cost them $1.50. But it's just something that matters. The cost wasn't what mattered. It was what the thought behind it. Acts of service. Right? Acts of service. Now they tell you how to communicate to someone who has a certain love language, actions to take with them, and things to avoid. They're essentially teaching us how to study each other so that we don't have to really get to know each other. We just wait until somebody tells us what they like, what they've been through. We're literally treating relationships like they're projects. Well, Dan, a relationship is a project. Follow me. We're treating relationships, romantic relationships, like they are a checklist, a to-do list. We're treating them like we're repairing a car or buying a car. We're treating a relationship like we can take the person in front of us and look at a book and go, oh, this is how I'm supposed to treat them. This is what I'm supposed to do. We're trying to get the cheat code to dating. We're treating dating like a video game. That's my annoying moment of the week. I had somebody say to me, what's your love language? I said, all of them. And they said, well, if you don't know where you land on the spectrum and you don't know where you land in the love language world, like how is this person supposed to love you? Then they said something to me that will get you out of my life real quick. And this is no offense to this person. This is just me, right? This is me speaking my mind. Because that's what I've learned with people. The people that are most offended are the ones that are the most offensive. They speak their mind, they say whatever they want, but God forbid somebody says something that they want to say about speaking their mind. Gosh forbid. Pardon me, God. So they said to me, if you don't know your love language and where you stand on the spectrum, what you're telling me is if you don't know your love language, if you can't pick one, then you don't know who you are. There's a lot of things in life that I don't know. One of them is not who I am. I know who I am. I know who I am. And refusing to give up and degrade myself and to distort myself and shrink myself so that I can fit into a box that society wants me to fit into is not stating that I don't know who I am. In all honesty, it's stating that I very much do know who I am, because I think the people that truly know who they are know that you cannot figure us out by a book. You can read anything you want to read and do whatever you want to do. And there's a lot of people that made money off of this stuff. But I have been in the dating world for many years. And if I could tell you anything about the dating world, it has gotten progressively worse because people think that they can figure it out by studying. And I mean, they're literally treating human beings like this is a math test. And if they follow the equation, it's all going to work out. Well, let me tell you something about life. You can follow a perfect equation and still get a divorce. You can follow a perfect equation and still get cheated on. You can follow a perfect equation and still get lied to. People that are still single thinking that they can outsmart dating is why they're still single. The reality of dating is this. God has a person for you. There are many people that are not for you. God will send them as tests. If you fail, he will continue to send those people until you pass. Once you pass, you still have to be patient. In your patience, you have to lean on him. In your patience, you have to have faith in him. In your patience, you have to trust him. Some of us meet our significant other, our better half, when we're kids. Some of us meet them in high school. Some of us meet them in college. Some of us meet them when we're 70. But my annoying moment of the week is that in the dating world, the things that I have been told by women, and I'm not saying that men don't say them, I'm speaking from my experience, and my experience alone. I can't speak for somebody else. I am disparaged. And I have to overcome that and remain hopeful, because the more women I have met in dating, the less I believe that there's somebody out there that hasn't been manipulated, jaded, living in the past, or just doesn't get it. They just don't get it. And because I look at the relationships I have in my life, my business relationships, my friendships, my family, the people that I consider brothers and sisters, my nieces, my nephews, my dog. how I treat a stranger. I get along with everybody. You know? Unless you are a mean-hearted, mean-spirited, mean-centric, like you want to hurt people person, we're good. You could be totally different beliefs than me, but if you respect me and I respect you, we're good. I work with people that have the same beliefs that I do, and I'm sure that there's people within these that don't. If I work with a restaurant, let's say they have 40 employees, one of those employees is going to have different views on life than I do. But if you can respect me, and I respect you, we're good. See, that's the problem. Some people can't respect people that have a different opinion. And I have a different opinion. I don't think that love is a box. I don't think you can just write love down and call it 5 love languages. How am I supposed to use quality time, or how am I supposed to pick quality time over physical touch? How am I supposed to pick physical touch over quality time? I have to spend quality time with people to have physical touch. No, Dan, you could just have a one-night stand. Well, I'm not that type of guy. So how do I tell you that I appreciate physical touch, but I'm not a one-hit wonder? Right? And if I tell you physical touch is most important to me, are you going to think that I don't care about acts of service? Are you going to think that I'm not a good person because I like to hold hands, because I like to kiss, because I like to be close to you? Do you think that because if I'm physically charged, so to speak, in someone's mind, that I'm not going to appreciate the other things, that I'm not going to give you words of affirmation, that I'm not going to want those myself? See, I don't like putting colors to people's personality. I don't like putting words to this person's this and this person's got to be that. I think the best people that I've known have all of these, right? My brothers, they give me words of affirmation. They tell me that they love me. They support me. They're there for me. They're constructive. They criticize, but in a healthy way, in a good way, in a loving way. They spend quality time with me. They make themselves available. Acts of service, they do nice things. They go out of their way. They let me know that they got me. Receiving gifts. Hey, brother, I thought of you and I got this for you. I show up at a game and here's a hat. I show up down in Florida and it's like, hey, man, let me get you lunch. You traveled so far and I appreciate that. Physical touch, we hug. What? We hug. We shake hands. We high five. We do things that let, like each other know, like, I got you. Like when I tell you I got you with words, I got you. And then when I hug you, you feel that I got you. You feel that you are my brother. I'm hugging you heart to heart. I got your back. So my brothers give me all of that. I'm supposed to pick one? To me, my mom was always somebody who hugged me. My mom still hugs me. My dad hugs me. My mom and dad give me a kiss on the cheek when they see me and when we leave each other. Kiss on the cheek. Physical touch. My mom would come home and say, I got you something. My dad would come back from a trip. I got you something. Receiving gifts. Acts of service. My parents did a lot of things to make sure that I had a good life and that I have a good life. And that I knew how to build my own good life. My parents didn't hand me things, and that my parents gave me a good life while teaching me how to create one for myself. The best parents are the ones that give you the best life that they possibly can while teaching you how to sustain it yourself. They don't just give it to you. They gave you water, but then they taught you how to go get it yourself, right? They brought the horse to the pond, but they're not forcing the horse to just, you know what I mean? It's like they gave me the meat, or maybe the better analogy, pardon me, was that they didn't just hand me the fish, they taught me how to fish. So, my parents gave me all of that. Words of affirmation, telling me that they love me, right? So, quality time. My parents and I go on trips together. Every year for the past few years, my dad and I go on a trip, at least one every year. My mom and I go on a trip, at least one every year. Quality time. And we see each other for lunch or dinner pretty much every single week. And we talk on the phone almost every single day. So, are my parents one love language? No. Are my parents one color personality, one end of the spectrum? No. So to me, if you're going to love somebody right, you're not going to love somebody one of the 5 languages. And there's more than 5 languages. There might be 7, there might be 12, who knows, if you want to break it all down. But see, I can make money trying to feed you anything. And I'm not trying to knock the people that created the 5 love languages and how much money they make. Hey, listen, do you, boo. But what it's done to dating is that some people are now trying to pigeonhole people. They're trying to typecast people. And when I'm in a conversation with you and you say, what's your love language? And I say all of the above, and you say, well, then obviously you don't know who you are. How dare you make a judgment call on if I know who I am? I know who I am so well that I won't let you put me in a box. I'm sorry that offends you, but I'm really not sorry that that offends you because it's who I am. I'm not doing anything offensive. I'm just not adhering to your rules. And if I don't adhere to your rules, how does that make me wrong? What rules am I breaking? I'm breaking your personal rules because you want love to be easily figured out. You want me to give you everything that you need. Let me tell you something. If you tell the wrong person how to love you right, you can stay with the wrong person for a long time because there's a lot of good actors in these streets. If you tell the wrong person how to love you right, they can do it. But I'd rather not tell somebody how to love me, watch, and then when they love me right, go, wow, maybe this is the right person. We'll take a step aside for a fast break. Nice prelude to Two Mics No Filter with Andrea Smith and myself, Dan Tortora. That'll be coming up here within the next couple days in the Dan Tortora broadcast media family, so make sure you stick with us on that. Appreciate you all, as always. The Annoying Moment of the Week, proudly presented by Carvel DeWitt. We will come back with Lead, Learn, Evolve, Adlib, and Deliver, as well as the Top Dog of the Week right after this.
We feel like we don't know, and certainly we know they can call us at any time, and they're definitely treated as family to us. I wake up every single day.
Here's a message from Renee from Brian's Landing, located on 6523 East Seneca Turnpike in Jamesville, New York. Open Tuesdays and Wednesdays for dinner, Thursday through Saturday for lunch and dinner, and Sundays for brunch.
It's a lot like the way that my mom and dad ran their restaurant. We have put in place a lot of people that are family to us, very similar to how my dad hired people that were family to him. And then the tradition I'm carrying on is a lot of the items that are on our menu are my dad's. And he taught our chefs how to recreate his dishes. So I think that Tommy McNerney, who our executive chef is, to him it is an art. And I think that when he does create a dish, it's not just about making the food taste delicious, which is definitely our priority, but it's an art to him, and it's almost like his canvas on a plate where he just wants the colors to look great, and people love it because he takes pride in that. And Brian and I appreciate that. We want it to obviously look good and taste good. I will tell you, when we opened up, it was 6 weeks before COVID. And what was amazing was the community, our friends and family stepped up, and everybody did takeout. Everybody supported us. Our hearts were just so filled. So to Brian and I, obviously our friends come all the time, and we just have repeat customers in Jamesville, and I think people going to our previous restaurant in Green Lakes are making the trip to come to Brian's Landing to support us. And I mean, I think we have great food and a great atmosphere. So it's very, very important to us.
Head to Brian's Landing, located on 6523 East Seneca Turnpike in Jamesville, New York, where memories have become recipes that are now meals to share with you. Tuesdays and Wednesdays for dinner, Thursday through Saturday for lunch and dinner, and on Sundays for brunch. And be sure to come out for live music Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Here is a special message from Brian Bruno, owner of Servomation Refreshments Incorporated.
I grew up in the family business, had the experience of working for a national food service company with thousands of employees, and as much as I enjoyed the experience I had, there's something about, owning my own company and being able to change the things I saw wrong with the industry firsthand, which is why I moved back to my hometown in Canastota, New York to launch Servomation. It was back in 2007. When we first started the business in '07, really you didn't find any machines with credit card readers. There was a lack of variety in machines. You got stuck with basically whatever the vending company wanted to sell that day. There was a lot of inefficiencies in the business, and those were all things that we saw as opportunities, both from a customer level to improve and from an operating level to be more efficient. We've really been at the forefront of introducing retail technology into our space. We were doing self-checkout back in 2009 before it really became a national phenomenon. The whole point of it isn't to just improve the customer experience. It's to make it feel more like a retail environment where people don't have to be afraid of what they're buying behind glass. They don't have to be afraid of not being able to see the ingredients of the packages. It was an easy transaction from that standpoint. If we were to reinvent something, we wanted to make sure what we were making looked and felt more like a deli and not like something that you would traditionally see in a vending machine. I was tired of hearing for years the customers say the wheel of death because the vending machine would circle around with the same tuna salad in it. What we wanted to do was it really change the perception of that food. So allowing customers to touch it, allowing customers to feel the weight of it, allow customers to see the freshness of it, and also the variety of it really helps them change the perception and ultimately the value of what we bring to them. The point of differentiation you have to make is either in value or the quality. And I think on both of those fronts, Servomation has really, in large part, changed that value system for employees. So they no longer have to worry about bringing their food from home or having to leave their desk during the day and rush out to get back in time for their break to end. We're bringing something that they can count on in their break room every day, and they know it's going to be there, they know it's going to be fresh, and they don't have to worry about it being sold out or something that they don't enjoy. We've also heavily invested in flavored water machine, so you can get a glass of water with a fresh piece of fruit in it, along with bean to cup coffee machine. So there's not a day that goes by we're not surprised when we get customers that call us and say, we didn't know you could do all this. We're really lucky to have a strong group of dedicated employees. Most of our employees have been with us since inception. They're family to us, and people like doing business with people they like and trust. And I think the same thing goes for employees. And in a day and an age where there's a lot of corporations that just look at an employee as a number and don't get to know them, that's just not the way I was raised or how I like to do business. So we're a little old-fashioned. We like getting close to our employees. We like knowing how we can help them. We like knowing how we can improve their lives, adjust their schedules, whatever it may be to help improve their quality of life. And we think in the end that makes for a happier employee. We're fortunate enough to have really grown over the last several years, and from Pennsylvania to Massachusetts to Connecticut, we really do have a strong connection, even though we're not in the rooms every day with these employees. There's not one single employee that we feel like we don't know, and certainly we know they can call us at any time, and they're definitely treated as family to us. I wake up every single day really excited to surprise our customers in a good way. The one thing I could tell you is I think that every one of our employees and every one of our customers will continue to be at the forefront of every decision we make.
Find out how Servomation can help you and your business by going to servomation.com.
And a welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside the Great Lakes Honda City studios where sports meets life. Here with us in our trio of signature segments as we continue through here today. We have 4 instead of 3 because the ingredients to success got moved to this morning. And so Lead, Learn, Evolve, Ad-Lib, and Deliver, proudly presented by Chick-fil-A Cicero, is where we're heading next. Today's topic, when you follow God. Well, when you follow God, you get somewhere. That's number 1. When you follow God, you get somewhere. When you follow God, you, in my opinion, you find yourself. When you follow God, you're not following a person, right? Because Jesus was more than simply a person. You're not following someone who's flawed. You're not following someone who's going to let you down. You're not following someone who's going to lie to you. You're not following someone who's going to not show up, going to say one thing and do another. When you follow God, you're following consistency. When you follow God, you're following love, unconditional love. So many of us in this world, who do we follow, Dan? Who do we go to, Dan? Who can we trust, Dan? Tell us, tell us, tell us, tell us, tell us. Where can we go? My response to you is there's only one answer. God. There's only one place that's going to be consistent. God. There's only one place that is always going to welcome you with open arms. God. There's only one place that's not going to be too busy for you. God. There's only one place that's not going to turn you down because better plans came around. God. See, I think where society has lost itself is that people have been focusing on worshiping other people, places, things, and those change. They're not always consistent. They're not always there for you. But God is. God does not fail. And in my opinion, when you follow God, you're learning about who you are. And it's tough. I think some people stop following God because the road's too hard. The devil will provide a simpler road because the devil doesn't want to upset you, because they want you to stay with them and continue to go down the wrong path. I keep reading this statement that says, the longer you stay on the wrong train, the more expensive it becomes to get home. And that's true. And I just took a train in Italy. And if my dad and I had been on the wrong one, we'd keep going in the wrong direction. When we turn around and come home, it's going to cost more, right? Because we're not taking 3 stops. Now we're taking 20 stops because we went way out of the way. And I was in a relationship recently where I kept going farther and farther down the train tracks in the wrong direction. And it ended up costing me more. In the beginning, I could have just been like, you know what? This doesn't sound right. It doesn't feel right. It doesn't look right. I'm not going to do this. But because I kept trying to force something that wasn't right, it did cost me. It cost me sanity at times. It cost me tears. It cost me a lot of money. Traveling, buying this, buying that, doing this, doing that. It cost me peace. It cost me security. It cost me time. See, when you follow God, God talks to you. And people say, well, I've never heard an audible voice. He finds a way. Sometimes it might be an audible voice. Sometimes, God bless me, these allergies, man. Sometimes it might be a whisper. Sometimes it might be him speaking through somebody. Sometimes he might speak through a sign that you drive by, walk by. Sometimes he might speak to you through a movie. There was something said in the last relationship that I had, and I was condemned for it. And then of any movie I could watch in the world, I turn on this movie that I hadn't seen in a long time, and the person in this movie that's in love with another person says the exact same thing that I said. Almost to a T, and calls out both of them. And they end up being in love. So the thing that condemned me was also used in a movie to show that no matter what, these people belong together. What comes from God cannot be ripped apart so easily, right? What comes from God is blessed by God. They say God opens doors that no man can shut, and God closes doors that no man can open. So if there's a door closed in your life, job, romance, friend, family member, if there's a door that's closed and you go to it and everything that you do to try and open this door, crowbars, everything, you go and try and pry it open with the jaws of life. You ram the door and you can't get the door open. It's because that door is not meant to be your door. That is not blessed by God. That doesn't mean that person isn't a blessing or that they're not one of God's children. It means that door is not for you. It's just not. And see, I struggle in life where sometimes you feel like you have done everything right. You've done everything you could possibly do, and it didn't work out. And you say, why? And then you look back on it after you gain perspective, and you say, well, that's why. because I don't like the way that person talked to me. I don't like how that person treated me. We weren't treating each other equally. I was being really, really nice. They were being really mean. I was constantly apologizing. They were never apologizing. They said things to me I would never say to anybody. They did things to me I would never do to anybody. They were living in their past. They were doing this. They were doing that. And when you really look at it, you say, okay, I cared about this person so deeply, but what were they bringing into my life? I was constantly having to walk out of the room and talk to God and get myself to calm down so that I didn't say something out of character. And this person said, you said things out of character all the time. You have no idea how many times I talked myself out of it. I spoke in a way that I shouldn't have 3 times. But the other 97 times, I bit my tongue. And in the beautiful words of one of my friends, they said, how long were you willing to bite your tongue? Like, how long can somebody bite their tongue? Think about all the things you could have said that you didn't. And I'm the type of person where if I do the right thing 100 times and I mess up the 101st time, I'm going to say to you, I shouldn't have done that. I don't go, well, I did 100 good things and 1 bad thing, so that's okay, because like the law of averages. I'm the type of person where I will tell you 99.9% of the time, I did not feed into their evil and give them evil back. But 3 times, I spoke in a way that I wasn't proud of my tongue. And those 3 times I hold myself accountable. Other people would say, be proud of all the times that you didn't. And my response to you would say, I have to learn from the times that I did. Not that I don't value the fact that I didn't. Not that I don't appreciate the fact that the majority of the time I didn't feed into it. I have to hold myself accountable for the times that I did, because the way I look at it is I want to mirror the life of God. I want to mirror God. And I can't mirror God by saying I'm good sometimes or I'm good most of the time. I have to try and be good all the time. I have to work to be good all the time. And you say, well, Dan, if someone poke you, eventually everybody responds. Well, you know how you get away from that? You say, well, how do you not respond to someone who's poking you? They're poking everybody. And everyone in their life that you've seen that they poked, those people have responded negatively at some point. They try to be nice, they try to be nice, they try to be nice, and then they look at this person and go, why are you so mean? So it's not just you that they're poking. But you know how you keep yourself from having that poke, where you eventually act out of character? You get away from the person that's poking you, because then they can't treat you in such a way that's going to put you out of character. See, I say to myself, you can never step out of character. You have to be the bigger person. You have to be nice. You have to follow God. You cannot call them names. You cannot swear at them. You cannot say mean things. And then somebody from the outside will say, well, you got pushed and pushed and pushed, so you made a mistake. You got pushed and pushed and pushed, so you said something mean. My thing to them is, I need to get away from that person. Because someone who's going to push me and push me and push me to be a twisted version of myself is not my friend, it's not my girlfriend, it's not my wife, it's not my fiance, it's not my family, it's not somebody I want to work with. That's when you have to realize that. Because I'm the type of person to beat up on myself if I say or do something out of character. And other people will say, well, you said or did something out of character because you were pushed to do it. And they say, well, what are you supposed to do if you keep getting pushed? Well, the only way to not get pushed is to get out of it. And I don't like to quit on people. And I was talking to somebody, and they said to me, you're not quitting on somebody when you walk away. You're choosing yourself. You're choosing your peace. You know, when you walk away from someone, it's not quitting on them. It's not giving up on them. It's saying, this is not healthy for me. This is not good for me. I'm not happy. I'm trying to make you happy, but I'm not happy. And I don't care who you are and how giving and selfless you are. If you're in a relationship where you want to make them happy and do everything to bring happiness to their life, but you're miserable, it's not good for you. Selfless people get taken advantage of because we're concerned with the other person first. I'm always wanting to see you yes, I want to be happy, but I want you to be happy. I want you to be fulfilled. I want you to feel good. I want you to know how special you are. I will put myself to the side to make sure that you're okay. And examples of that in my life most recently is I have somebody screaming in my face, disrespecting me, and then 5 minutes later, they needed me for something. I ran to them. I did everything I could to make sure that they were okay, that they were good, that they were healthy, that they had what they needed. How many people do you know in your life you could scream at, swear at, disrespect, and right after you called them a name, if you needed them for something, they would run to you, pick you up, carry you, be there for you? Those people are not easy to find, and it's not an easy thing to do, but it's something that I want to be. I want to be the person that says, hey, if I saw somebody who spit on my name and they were getting beat up in an alley, I would go help them instead of going, well, they deserve it. They spit on me. And see, I don't respond well to people that say that. I've had somebody say that to me before. I'm on the phone and the person just said to me, they go, I really want to hit somebody today. And I was like, don't do that. They're like, no, I want to hit someone today. And I'm like, you can't go hit somebody today. Like, spreading evil is not going to make you feel better. Yeah, but I want to do it. And it's almost like they wanted me to tell them it was okay. But it's not okay. You have to have people in your life that tell you when something is not good, when it's not okay. You can't have yes people in your life that are going to say yes when you're like, I want to hit someone. I want to steal something. I want to, use somebody. You can't have somebody going, well, you've been used, so yeah, even the playing field. You don't want to even the score. What does it say in the Bible? If someone hits you on one side, turn the other cheek. I literally did that. I had somebody hit me and in a relationship. And I said, if you're going to hit me when you're looking at me in the face. And it was my way of saying, like, if you actually look me in the face, this should knock some sense into you. And you should know, hey, I claim to love this person. I shouldn't hit them. They hit me on one side of my face. I turned. They hit me on the other side. I've literally been slapped on both sides of my face. When God says turn the other cheek, I literally got hit, turned the other way, got hit again. I had hand marks on both sides of my face. When you follow God, God will keep you from these people, or will teach you through these people, will help you. If you don't hear an ominous voice from space, it doesn't mean that God is not speaking to you. God is clear. And the older that I've gotten, I shouldn't even say the older that I've gotten. When I've been in really volatile relationships, God has let me learn a lesson. And at a certain point, he says something. With somebody, it was well into the relationship. With another person, it was 8 days. I heard his voice in my ear say, if this person wants to leave, let her leave. Let her go. Like, Daniel, you don't even understand. I've already seen it. Let this person walk out. Please let this person get out of your life. Listen to me. I have heard God, felt God. When you follow God, God will guide you. God does not want to see you in pain. God does not want to see you hurt. God does not want to see you give up. The trials and the tribulations, adversity makes us who we are. But we have to follow God in adversity. We have to follow God when it's beautiful. We have to follow God when it's raining. We have to follow God when there's a tornado. We have to follow God when there's an earthquake. We have to follow God when there's a snowstorm, when there's an ice storm. You can't follow God sometimes and expect to get somewhere. If half the time you're running forward and the other half the time you're running in place, you're not going to get anywhere. You're going to get to a certain point, and that's it. We can't follow God on a track. Or no, let me rephrase. We can't follow God running forward and then follow God on a treadmill and think that they're the same thing, getting us to the same. We have to constantly move forward. We have to constantly be moving forward. Not forward, backward, side, backward, forward. Because we're not getting anywhere. If we move 2 steps forward, 10 steps back, 3 steps to the side, now we're way out of place. And when you follow God, how do you know you're following God? Read the Bible. How do you know you're following God? Pay attention to messages that are reoccurring in your life. How do you know that you're following God? Pray. How do you know that you're following God? Sit in silence, meditate. How do you know that you're following God? Listen to the common things, God will send you a sign, and I'm living this, folks. God sent me a sign. It brought me peace. When I was in turmoil, it's one of the only things I could say to myself to stop crying and go to sleep. Now when I see it, I go, yeah, okay, I agree. I'm not crying anymore. I'm not struggling to fall asleep anymore. I'm not worried about it anymore. I'm not chaotic about it anymore. I'm not running around in place anymore. I'm literally looking at that message going, yeah, that's the thing you sent me that helped me sleep. Thank you for continuing to send it to remind me to continue to listen. When you follow God, you have the opportunity to get somewhere. When you follow mankind, you might get somewhere, and then you might get lost. When you follow everyone but God, you may get somewhere, but then you're probably going to get lost. That's reality. And this is not coming from a human being that hasn't had life experiences. This is not coming from a human being that hasn't been put in or put themselves in terrible situations or been in a terrible situation. I don't come to you today saying, oh, I've had an easy life, I've had this, and that. No. I have been challenged and experienced things and have constantly been tested. Whether you want to call it God's testing you or the devil was trying to get you off your path or whatever it may be, I have been tested. And when you live through the test, you can have the testimony. And I can't take credit for that because I read that somewhere, but when you live through the test, you get the testimony. And if I take a test and I fail, he makes me take it again. And if I make and if I refuse to take the test, he makes me take it. There's one message God sent to me repeatedly recently, and I didn't listen. And he kept saying it. He said it when I was around the person. He said it when I was away from the person. He said it when I was thinking of the person. He said it when I was going about my life. He was clear to me repeatedly, do not be in this situation. Do not be here. Leave here. This is not good. It's going to hurt you. It's going to hurt you. It's going to hurt you. Repeatedly, I heard that. If you stay, it's going to be bad. It's going to be bad. And then when I left, he sent me a different message. If it's in my will, it'll come back. If it's in my will, it ain't going to leave. If it's in my will, it'll happen. And if it's not, have peace knowing that something better is my plan. When you follow God, you can achieve the impossible. When you don't follow God, you might think you're achieving something, but at some point in your life, you will realize you're running in place. This has been Lead, Learn, Evolve, Ad-Lib, and Deliver, proudly presented by the wonderful team at Chick-fil-A Cicero. Today's topic, when you follow God. It's now time for the Top Dog of the Week. Top Dog of the Week, proudly presented by K-9 Kamp Dog Daycare on 228 Old Bridge Street in East Syracuse, New York, right across the street from BJ's Wholesale Club. And you can see them right on Bridge Street, and you can see them as you're going onto the highway. K-9 Kamp Dog Daycare, the place to bring your dog for short-term care, and the only place that I would suggest to bring your dog when you need someone to watch them that you can trust, that you know they're going to be in a safe place, that you know that the people care. K-9 Kamp Dog Daycare, to me, because of Lorraine, because of Chad, because of how they do what they do, and who they hire, and how they go about their business, I love Lily. Y'all know that. There's nowhere else that I would rather bring Lily. If I can't bring her to mom and dad, then into the hands of Lorraine and her team at K-9 Kamp Dog Daycare is where Lily is. That's where I trust. I trust them because of the people they are and because of how much they care about dogs and because of what they've done, their track record of taking care of Lily. So big time shout out to Lorraine for all the care that she's given Miss Lily. Our top dog of the week this week. It's a tough one. My top dog of the week this week, I'm going to say the people that are out there having babies. In good, positive, healthy relationships. Those people out there having babies. Because this world's gotten scarier and scarier and scarier in a lot of ways. And so some people are not wanting to have babies. And I think they've said something about, like, the young generation doesn't really want to have kids and this, that, and whatever. The people out there that are repopulating the earth, believing, wanting to have children, wanting to be parents, to bring them into a healthy home and a happy house, I commend you. You are my top dogs of the week. Because I know that this world is crazy, and it feels like at times it's only getting crazier. But the fact that you want to bring life into this world, the fact that you want to bring someone into this world that you are responsible for, that you have to practice selflessness, that you have to practice being humble and kind and giving, someone who is going to take energy and time and love. The fact that you are willing to give outside of yourself in such a way as to be a parent, God bless you. I've always wanted to be a father. So to every father and mother that loves their children, sticks around for their children, raises their children, teaches them accountability, responsibility, love, selflessness, treat people the way you want to be treated, that gets them around God, that gets them in the Bible, to every parent out there that is doing positive, kind, good things to raise your child up and to teach them, to go back to a previous point, to not only give them fish, but to teach them how to fish. To not only raise them with love and to give and give and give, but to teach them how to be able to fend for themselves if and when they're not there. To the parents out here parenting, to the parents out here doing good, to the parents out here spreading morals and values, to the parents out here still believing that this world has enough good in it that you can put a child of your own in this world and see them flourish and see them shine no matter what comes their way. I commend you for standing in the face of danger, standing in the face of the devil, standing in the face of the world and saying, I am going to lead with love. I'm going to lead with goodness. And I am going to bring a baby into this world if God allows me to and wills me to. And I'm going to love them up. And I'm going to put one more good person on this planet. To the parents that are doing it, God bless you. Thank you. My Alexes, my Anthonys, my Rosses, my Jasons, my Johnnies, my Aarons, my Robs, my Enricos, my Joeys. Thank you for the people that are parenting. And if it's not your biological child, thank you for the people that are parenting. Whoever you're raising, however you're raising them with morals, values, and goodness, thank you for doing the best you can and for believing in this world and trying to make this world a better place and trying to have a positive influence and impact on somebody else. Thank you for that. I love my parents. I love my grandparents. So shout out to the parents and the grandparents and the guardians and the brothers and the sisters and everybody that's out there, the teachers and the mentors and the coaches that are trying to raise these kids with love and with goodness. Raise them right. Raise them with God. Raise them with morals and values. Raise them with responsibility, like I said. Raise them with accountability, with humility, with empathy. Thank you for raising your children in love. I appreciate you, and I thank you more than you'll ever know. Top dogs of the week. The people out here trying to bring more good into the world. We'll take our final step aside here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Top dog of the week from K-9 Kamp Dog Daycare. Go and visit them. 228 Old Bridge Street in East Syracuse, New York. You can get in touch with them by going to K-9kamp.com. That's K-9kamp.com. And you can also call them at 315-437-7110. 315-437-7110. Get in touch with them at K-9 Kamp Dog Daycare. You won't be disappointed. Fantastic team. Even better people. We'll take a step aside here inside of the Great Lakes Honda City Studios. When we come back, we will bring you the ingredients to success.
Avicolli's, located on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, has been your trusted neighbor for decades. Located just steps from Liverpool High School, we're happy to have the Liverpool Warriors on-site, on-location broadcast at Avicolli's through Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora every single month, featuring student athletes, coaches, and administration throughout the year from Liverpool High School. Head out to Avicolli's today on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, open Tuesday through Sunday for lunch, dinner, and drinks. We'd love to see you out there, and of course you can call them at 315-622-5100 for takeout, delivery, and catering. That's 315-622-5100, and also find them on myavicollis.com. That's myavicollis.com. Having peace of mind when you're out of town that your furry-loving friend is safe and sound means taking them to K-9 Campground, because we all know that when it comes to the love of our pets, it goes well beyond the call of duty to make sure they're safe and sound. Right, Lily? So take a ride to 242 Johnson Street in East Syracuse, New York, and see K-9 Campground and where your dog will be staying in the classic cabin, the executive cabin, the grand cabin, or of course the luxury cabin, because if you know Lily, you know she loves luxury. Now you don't have to wait to the last minute to find a family member or a friend that'll take your dog for a few days. Call K-9 Campground at 315-299-4013. That's 315-299-4013. Their drop-off and pickup times are Monday through Sunday. Check K9Campground.com for more information. That's the letter K, the number 9, and campground spelled with a K.com. K9Campground.com.
When you're going out of town, bring your dog to K-9 Campground.
Looking for your next ride? Look no further than Great Lakes Honda City, located on 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Serving our community for decades, their new and pre-owned vast array of vehicles are available to you Monday through Saturday on site. To search from home, shop at GreatLakesHondaCity.com. Call 315-365-5576 to set up an appointment. That's 315-365-5576 for Great Lakes Honda City, 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Great cars, great people, Great Lakes.
Carvel DeWitt, it's what happy tastes like. Do you know why? Because we make ice cream. Creamy, rich, flavorful ice cream. Not yogurt or iced milk like some of our competitors. Ice cream. Fresh, by hand, daily. For the calorie conscious, we have something new for you. Our new Carvel. Same great flavor, creaminess, and texture of our regular ice cream with only 35 calories an ounce. So whether you want an ice cream cake, flying saucer, dasher, Carvelange, hard or soft ice cream, we will satisfy your craving with our fresh, handmade regular or new Carvelite ice cream. Carvel DeWitt. It's what happy tastes like.
The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is located on 3680 Milton Avenue in the Home Depot Plaza. It is your family-friendly sports bar and restaurant. Folks, some sports bars aren't family-friendly. Some family-friendly restaurants are not sports bars. The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is proud to be both. It is that marriage that you've been looking for years. The Wildcat Sports Pub is your home base for your sports bar and restaurant needs, games for the kids, indoor and outdoor activities, and enough things on the menu to come back every single week and get to try something new. They're open Sundays from noon to 8 p.m., Monday through Wednesday 11 a.m. to 11 p.m., and Thursday through Saturday from 11 a.m. to midnight. For reservations and party information, call 315-487-2222 for the Wildcat family-friendly sports pub and restaurant.
GG Cards and Breaks. Like, comment, subscribe.
GG Cards and Breaks is there for you on 639 Delmar Place in Syracuse, New York. You'll find GG Cards and Breaks open Tuesday through Saturday from 10 to 6 and on Sundays from 10 to 5. GG Cards and Breaks. We had a great trade night last night. I made a lot of wonderful deals there yesterday. Very excited. Made some deals with GG Cards and Breaks and made some deals with the community. Love seeing you all out there. Thank you to all of my card collectors. No matter what your age, no matter how many years you've been in it or how many days you've been in it, we have a great card community in Central and Upstate New York, and I absolutely love hanging out with y'all, and it really meant the world to me to be out there last night. It was a beautiful night and a wonderful time. So shout out to everybody that was at GG Cards and Breaks trade night and that comes out there every single month. 639 Delmar Place in Syracuse, New York. You can go there today and you will find some awesome product while supplies last. I always want to say hockey and soccer again, and that's why, or together, that's why I said hocker. So hockey, soccer, basketball, baseball, football, Disney, Lorcana, Yu-Gi-Oh!, Magic the Gathering, Pokemon, and more. Right there, GG Cards and Breaks. Singles, packs, boxes, graded cards. You never know what you're going to find. That's why you got to get yourself over to GG Cards and Breaks today, and you probably got to go back in a couple days, if not the next day, to see what's going to happen. How many times I've been at GG Cards and Breaks, and like literally less than 24 hours later, they brought in a product where I'm like, I got to go back. I got to get that box. GG Cards and Breaks. Go and collect and stay a big kid your whole life. 639 Delmar Place in Syracuse, New York. It's now time to get our final piece of this week, which is the ingredients to success. It'll be back to our normal Tuesday broadcast for the ingredients to success this coming week, but it's on Friday for this week. And the ingredients to success that I have for you today are going to have to do with the topic, proudly presented by Avicolli's, that topic being when it isn't perfect. When it's not perfect. A lot of people out here chasing perfection. Well, let me tell you something about life. Life ain't perfect. And whatever you think is going to happen, and this is the thing too, is people are like, well, you know, what are you trying to say, Dan? That like I'm going to plan out for something good and something bad's going to happen? No. Sometimes you plan out for something good and something better happens. How about that? Sometimes we plan out for something that's we think is going to be amazing, and we get something even better than the amazing that we had planned. When life isn't perfect, things are not going to go exactly how you have planned. More often than not, it's not going to happen. And that's just reality. Life is not perfect. It can be close to what you deem to be perfection, but life is not always going to be exactly how you want it to be. Chances are you're not married to the first person that you maybe said I love you to. Chances are that you may not be dating the first person right now. You may not be dating the first person that you ever asked out. Chances are the woman that you thought was perfect or the guy you thought was perfect for you ended up not being that way. Chances are the job that maybe you thought was your dream job changed over time. Chances are the house that you might be living in the state that you're living in the country even that you're living in, may not be where you thought you were originally going to end up. Chances are that something in your life that you thought was going to be this way or that way may have turned out to be another way. Because life is not perfect. Life happens. And when it happens, we have to understand that we have to be able to adjust. I don't know how anybody cannot ad-lib through life and then be able to adjust to it. To me, it's like, if you're not someone who can ad-lib, you're not someone who can think on the fly, you're not somebody who can, make a decision in a quick moment. I mean, how do you get through life, in my opinion? Because we all have to be able to make decisions on the fly. We have to be able to react. We have to be able to do things in the moment. I don't know how people get through life without being able to ad-lib, because I think ad-libbing is an art, and I think it's something that if you don't have that ad lib in your life, where are you really going to go? What are you really going to achieve? In my opinion, we need to be able to ad lib in life. We have to be able to do that. Or else, what are we doing? Life is not going to go exactly how you had it planned. Nobody is perfect. People make mistakes. If you're in a relationship and you run away from the relationship the first time that there's an argument, the first time there's a disagreement, the first time you guys don't see eye to eye on something, guess what? It ain't going to work out. It's not going to work out. If you run when life gets hard, it's not going to work out. It won't. That's reality. Because life is not easy. And people say things that they don't mean. My mom has said things to me she doesn't mean, I'm sure. I've said things to her I don't mean. My dad and I have said things to each other that we didn't mean in the moment. So that's the thing. When it comes to life and you're really sitting here and you're really thinking about it and you're thinking about the people that you've kicked out of your life, did you kick them out when things got just a little bit difficult? Did you kick them out when things were not easy? Did you kick them out when you heard something you didn't want to hear? The fact that we can sit here and think that life is going to be perfect. We're never going to have a scratch. We're never going to have a bruise. We're never going to bump our heads. We're never going to have to apologize. If life was perfect, that would be insinuating that you're never going to do anything wrong. You're never going to say anything wrong. You're never going to take the wrong path. You're never going to have to apologize. You're never going to have to get better, to have to grow, to have to learn, to have to evolve. To expect perfection from someone knowing that you are not perfect is ridiculous. And the amount of people that expect perfection, right? I expect you to do this. I expect you to raise this much money for me. I expect you to love me like this. I expect you to be here for this. I expect you to do this and travel all around for that. I expect you to break your back for that. How can you expect perfection when you're never going to be able to give that to somebody? I'm going to say that again. How can you expect perfection when you're never going to be able to give that to somebody? You will never, no matter how hard you try, be perfect. So, how can you expect someone to always, always, always say the right thing and do the right thing? Now, there's certain things that are fireable offenses, right? You know, you can't turn around and say, well, I'm not perfect. That's why I stole from the store and you, the owner, have to keep me here. No, there's certain things like the 10 Commandments, right, that you get rid of, right? Somebody does it. That's a fireable offense. You commit adultery, you steal, you kill, you covet, you disrespect. You have the right to end, right? But thinking that you're going to go through life with friends or girlfriends or boyfriends or husbands or wives or fiancés or parents or grandparents or brothers and sisters, and you're not going to have moments where you disagree. You're not going to have moments where you argue. You're not going to have moments where you might say something that you didn't mean in an emotionally charged conversation. It's crazy. Life isn't perfect. So what are the ingredients to success? Understand you're not perfect. So you cannot ask that of somebody. You cannot ask of somebody what you cannot give. That should be a rule of thumb for you. Do not ask something of somebody that you cannot give. And none of us can give perfection, so we should not expect perfection. If you cannot give it, how do you think they're going to give it? We were all created by God. So if God created you and you're not perfect, then why would you expect somebody else to be perfect? God created us in his image and likeness, but he did not tell us that we are perfect and without fault. If anything, God has taught us in the Bible that we do have faults. There's plenty of stories of human beings who have had faults, and God, being a parent, had to punish that child or children because they didn't listen. Not because he wanted to, but because no matter what he said and what he did, they refused to listen. We are not perfect. So you have to understand that. That's an ingredient to success. First and foremost, understand you are not perfect. Understand nobody else is. Understand you cannot ask them to be perfect because you cannot be perfect. And you cannot ask them to do something or be something that you are not going to be, because that's just going to create a bad relationship. Knowing how to ad-lib. That's another ingredient to success for life not being perfect. Knowing how to ad-lib. Knowing how to be able to adjust, to roll with the punches. Another thing is giving yourself some grace, right? Knowing that there might be moments where you do everything that you possibly can and it doesn't work out the way you want it to work out, and it doesn't mean you're a failure. It just means it didn't work out. So the ingredients of understanding that life isn't perfect, taking a deep breath, wanting to have an A on every test and every project, wanting to get 100, there's nothing wrong with that. But if you fight for the A and you get an A minus, but you wanted the A plus and you worked for the A plus and you gave everything to the A plus, and you can look yourself in the mirror and say, I gave A plus effort in this despite the fact that I got an A minus, okay. Some relationships, you're going to be an A plus and the relationship's going to be an F. Some jobs, you're going to be an A plus and the job's going to be an F. Because life is not perfect. You have to be concerned with the effort you give, the time you give, the energy you give, and if you're positive or negative. If you're somebody who says something and doesn't do it, if you walk the walk or if you just talk the talk. Most people talk. Very few people walk the walk. Very few people. I am in a business where I am surrounded by people all the time. Thousands and thousands of people. There's over 5,000 numbers in my phone. Okay? I'm constantly meeting people. I can tell you, a lot of people talk. A lot. Few of them walk. Few. Few and far between. Everybody tells you how great they are. Everybody tells you they're a good person. Everybody gives you what they think you want to hear. But few people actually put them actions out there. And actions speak louder than words. You can call it a cliche, but I tell you all the time, cliche to me is another word. It's a synonym for truth. Cliche to me is a synonym for truth, because actions do speak louder than words. I'm gonna be, I promise, I do, I love, I blah. And then you see the actions. Where are they? I'm gonna be here for you. Where you at? I don't see you. So actions speak louder than words. It's another thing that you have to take into account when you realize that life is not perfect. Knowing that not everybody's going to be honest with you. Knowing that not everyone's going to tell you the truth. So understanding that life isn't perfect. Well, why did they do this? I'm notorious for saying it, calling up my parents and going, Ma, how could somebody do this? Why would somebody do this? I wouldn't do this, because life isn't perfect. People are going to do and say things you would never even imagine, because life is not perfect. So if you want to get through life, if you want to enjoy life, rather, you have to understand that you're not always going to get what you give. You're not always going to receive what you put out there. Eventually, it's all going to come back. But it may not come back from that person. It may not come back from that situation, from that job. It may not come back right now. But you keep putting good in. And you'll get good out. Because life isn't perfect. But if you live it with God at your center, and you have morals and values, and you stay true to who you are and what you're about, and you're willing to be wrong, and you're willing to grow, and you're willing to take constructive criticism, and you're willing to learn, you have the opportunity of making such a beautiful life that perfection doesn't even matter to you anymore, because you're just happy to be here. You're happy in your skin. You're happy to live the life that you have. You're happy that God wakes you up in the morning. Life isn't perfect. But it doesn't mean that it can't be beautiful, worth living, and create a beautiful story, a wonderful story, a story worth telling. I don't want life to be perfect. I want to live it. Not survive it, not die in it, live it. Without fear, without the past. Take the lessons, take the blessings, but don't take anything else from the past. Not the memories, not all the garbage, not all the hate and the negativity and the bad words that were said and the things that were done. Just take the lesson and the blessing and move on. Forgive, forget about it, and understand that life is not perfect, but it's yours to live. So choose wisely how you live it, who you live it around, and what you live it doing. God bless. Those are the ingredients to success. Proudly presented by Avicolli, 7839 Oswego Road in Liverpool, New York. Our exclusive home for our Liverpool athletics broadcast every single month. And shout out to softball, who was there with me this week, and our beautiful time that we had. Phil DeAugustine, the staff in general, and all of our student athletes. God bless you all and your loved ones, and thank you for being a part of the show. Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora is with you on YouTube and Facebook.com, both /WakeUpCallDT. And you'll find us Monday through Friday up and down the East Coast, the Midwest, the West Coast, and all around the globe from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Then we jump into the archives, Amazon Music, Audible, iHeartRadio, iTunes, and Apple Podcasts, Player FM, as well as Podbean, Podchaser.com, Podvine, Spotify, TuneIn, and YouTube, among others. All you have to do is search Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, or one word, Wake Up Call DT. And, of course, many thanks to the Brooklyn Pickle down in North Kakalaki. You'll find them in Southern Pines, North Carolina, and they are on 1788 Old Morganton Road in Southern Pines, North Carolina, right down the road from Pinehurst Golf Course, which is very well known to the PGA. You will find them right there. So if you're going golfing, head there first or head there after. And in general, just head out to Brooklyn Pickle in Southern Pines today. 1788 Old Morganton Road in Southern Pines, North Carolina. Many thanks to Great Lakes Honda City, Carvel DeWitt, the Wildcat Sports Pub, GG Cards and Breaks, Servomation, Ma and Pa's, Avicolli's, K-9 Kamp Dog Daycare, Mother's Cupboard, Chick-fil-A Cicero, Pizza Man, Brian's Landing, and we are the exclusive multimedia marketing partner of your Lemoyne College Dolphins. It's Fins Up every single month on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Find your Dolphins every Wednesday during Dolphin Time, Wednesdays at 9 a.m. Eastern Time with student athletes, coaches, administration, future Dolphins, and alumni. You will find them on youtube.com /WakeUpCallDT in our archive, and you'll also find them by going to wakeupcalldt.com's homepage and underneath the exclusive partners tab. For more information, go to LeMoyneDolphins.com, and as always, Fins Up. The Bryan and Stratton College Bobcats of Syracuse are exclusive multimedia marketing partners with Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Find your Bobcats every single month with student athletes, coaches, and administration here with us from all of their wonderful sports, including our exclusive that just aired of the first conversation ever had with Rich Desereau, the new head baseball recruiter for the baseball program at Bryan and Stratton College of Syracuse. You can find that and so much more by going to youtube.com /WakeUpCallDT. Click subscribe, hit the notification bell, and find our BSC Syracuse playlist. The Bobcats are also on WakeUpCallDT.com's homepage and underneath the exclusive partners tab. For more information, go to syracuse.bscbobcats.com and go Bobcats. The Binghamton University Bearcats are exclusive multimedia marketing partners with Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Find the Bearcats every single Tuesday at 10 a.m. Eastern Time with student athletes, coaches, administration, and alumni joining the broadcast. The Bearcats are here with you telling their stories all throughout the year, and you can find it on youtube.com /WakeUpCallDT. Click subscribe, hit the notification bell, and find our Bearcats playlist. As you can also find them by going to wakeupcalldt.com's homepage and underneath the exclusive partners tab. For more information, go to binghamtonbearcats.com and go Bearcats. With that being said, here on the broadcast, I want to thank Inside of Ma and Pa's Popcorn.com's What's Poppin', Mr. Steve Addazio, for joining the show here, longtime college football head coach and assistant as well. and of course now our college football analyst for ESPN. Thanks to Carvel DeWitt for the annoying moment of the week and for being our longest standing partner. Thanks to Chick-fil-A Cicero for the lead, learn, evolve, ad-lib, and deliver. Speaking on when you follow God. Thank you to our top dog of the week presented by K-9 Kamp Dog Daycare. Everybody out there being a parent with love and care and concern and trying to make this world a better place and put another good person on this planet. And many thanks to the Ingredients to Success, proudly presented by Avicolli's, on the topic, Life Isn't Perfect. I hope you have a wonderful day. Find us 24/7 on Facebook at Wake Up Call DT, X at Call DT, Instagram at wakeupcall_DT. And as always, from the Great Lakes Honda City Studios, God bless, no stress. Do your best, be well, and stay safe.